So Romans 9, it said, as concerning the flesh, Christ came, and he came for Israel. So when you go back, Romans chapter 5, verse 8, it says, when we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. You know what it's talking about. It's talking about Israel. When you go back down, verse 10, it says, for if we were when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God. When was we enemies? When you go back to Lamentations, go ahead.
Lamentations chapter 2, verse 5. The Lord was an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He hath destroyed his strongholds, and hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation.
Right. So there you go. He was an enemy to Israel. Let's keep going. It says, and we were reconciled to God by the death of his son. Much more, being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. So when you go into the word reconcile, from the Latin reconciliare, re-meaning again and conciliare means to bring together.
Reconcile something. That's where you get the word consolidate from.
It means to bring, to gather together. Now, when you go to the book of, I think it's Jeremiah, Isaiah, it says that the Most High would scatter the children. I mean, he would gather the children of Israel from the four winds. 66. It might be early, but if you can find it that way, it says that, then go to read that.
Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. The Mashiach hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is every one that hangeth on a tree.
Yep.
And then Galatians chapter 4, verse 4. But when the fullness of the time was come, the Most High sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. Yep. Revelations 9 tell you who the adoption belongs to.
Roman?
Yep.
Roman, yeah.
Let me try to get, did y'all find that one?
66.
No, there's one in the early chapter now.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 10. Hear the word of the Lord, O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, he that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd doth his flock. For the Lord hath redeemed Jacob and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he.
What you got?
John.
Good.
This is John chapter 11 and starting at 49. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being high priest that same year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And he spake, he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that YAHAWASHI should die for that nation.
Exactly. Yep. Give me that in Isaiah, because it's going to go into that even more.
This is Isaiah chapter 11, verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people.
YAHAWASHI. Go ahead.
To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious.
Oh, so they might get fucked up on the Gentiles. Yeah. We just went into Genesis 35:10, where it says Israelites were going to be Gentiles. We called the Israelites Gentiles.
What word is that? What was that? Isaiah 11 what?
11 and 10.
I got one. Can I just get this one?
This Isaiah chapter 60,
Just going into that word Gentiles again, huh?
Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 1. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Verse 2, behold, the darkness shall cover the earth.
I hate that word.
For darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Verse 3, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Verse 4, lift up thine eyes round about, and see, all they gather themselves together, they come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side.
That's about it.
I can't find this. Nah, it's more down in the scripture. When it's talking about how they're going to bring us the dromedaries.
What the fuck? I just had it.
Oh, hell no. Don't make that shit, man.
This thing over here, crazy. This is Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. And this shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea.
Keep going.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel.
Who the fuck is the outcast of Israel? Those that were cast out of the land. Go ahead. Now what the fuck is
And he
that?
shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Exactly. So that's what we know. That's how we know who the Gentiles are. But see, that going back to what I was saying earlier.
Hebrew though, man.
Yeah. Hold on. But that going back to what I was saying earlier, that's why they stick solely to the English.
Right.
And that shit, it makes you stumble in the scriptures if you do not ever go into the Hebrew. You just rely on the English. Not only do they just rely on the English, they rely on the English language as spoken today, and not in those times. You just totally fuck up everything. Right, I hate that word. I can't stand the word Gentile, man. Because in the scripture, it will totally confuse you if you never go into the Hebrew, man. They're totally confuse you, man. You would think, you would read the whole New Testament and think that shit's talking about some white people and fucking Rome and Greece and shit.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah. You'll be thinking it's some Middle Eastern people and goddamn Turkey and shit. Instead of knowing that this is your people. But that's why the language has been changed, and that's why they got it like that, so you Israelites won't go in there and understand who you are.
Right.
You won't go in the scriptures and see that, yo, this is my people. Well, once again, relying off your ignorance, man. Go ahead.
This is Isaiah chapter 66, verse 18. For I know their works and their thoughts, and it shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren.
What verse is that?
66 and 19.
I got one too.
And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters and upon mules and upon swift beasts to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord.
No sense.
It don't make no sense.
That don't make sense, man. It's talking about nations, and then it switched to Gentiles, but it's the same exact word. It makes no sense, man. But that's where the research comes from, man.
And that's what goes into all that prologue of Sirach, what he read earlier. That's why the prologue of Sirach says what it says.
Right. Everything other than Hebrew.
It's not it. It don't have the same voice in this language. The thing, that's why you have to study, man. You have to be like Solomon and be a learner of knowledge, because when you go into language, when you study languages, I'm just not talking about Hebrew. When you study languages, you understand that whatever language you speak, that shapes your mind into your culture, because the language is developed by the people, which the language develops and brings along the culture. So whatever language you speak, whatever language you acquaint yourself with, that's the culture that you're gonna shape yourself around, man.
Hosea. It's Hosea 8, chapter 8. Hosea chapter 8, verse 8. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
Ezekiel chapter 39 verse 21, and I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know that I am the Lord their power from that day forward, and the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword, according to their uncleanliness, and according to their transgression have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. Well, yeah, because it's a separation, man. The Lord said that he was going to slay his glory among the heathen, and when he judged the heathen, they were going to know that he was the Lord. But Israel were going to know that he was the Lord through them being saved from the heathens, man. Because prophecy has to be fulfilled, man. And it's not according to man's heart. It's according to the Lord's judgment. The Christians, they bring this all-inclusive doctrine, but they fail to mention all of the Lord's judgments, man. The Lord has commenced judgments and slapped the gavel many times against many nations, and those judgments haven't been played out on the earth yet, man. And those things are quietly ignored. But the Lord has set up the prophets. That's why the word is so offensive to the world, man. Because they have to deal with the judgments and be held accountable as nations, man. We were held accountable for our iniquity as a nation of people, man. And now the Lord is starting to do that to the other nations. He's turning the curses and the plagues upon the other nations, man. That's why Yahawashi came, man. That the children of Israel will be saved from their enemies, man. But the Lord placed the Gentile stumbling block out here on purpose, man. It was a purpose, because 2/3 of our nation has been doing this since every time they've been placed on the planet, man. And the Lord gave them up to this their vile affections, man. And he took the heritage from them, because then they were doing it knowing that they were Israel, man. But now the Lord is taking it away, and now he's only allowing the secret to be seen by the prophets and the believers, man. Prophecy is going down now, and only the prophets and the believers can see that, man. While the whole world lies in darkness, man. Everybody's partying, and World War III is upon the cusp, man. But the mindset of these people is that it's going to get intense and then it's going to calm down. That's the mind of Esau. We will return and build a desolate places. That's why nobody's worried, because everybody has the spirit of Esau on them, man. They trust in the spirit of Egypt, man. Our people are finished. 2/3 of our people, they are locked, sealed, and followers of Ashashua, man. Even if they say they not, man, they had a spirit of Ishashua on them, man. Because when they get angry, what do? They try to go at Esau carnally, man. But the Lord made us a spiritual people by nature, man. He gave Esau the sword. That's why Esau is doing all of the madness that he's doing, so that it can be made manifest that he's the son of perdition, man. And the world has no idea that all of the things that are going on, all of these nations going out there to fight in the Middle East, is all for the sake of the nation that's despised amongst nations, man. And that's the plot twist to the Lord's movie, man. You don't want the whole world to know that the chosen people are on the bottom, and they're telling you what's gonna happen to you. That's why when people pass by, they scoff. They see us and they say we're in dresses, we talking crazy. But when that day comes upon them, they're gonna know that a prophet was among them, man.
So Ezekiel 12 and 27. Son of man, behold, they of the house of Israel say, the vision that he seeth is for many days to come. And he prophesied of the times that are far off. Therefore say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, there shall none of my words be prolonged anymore, but the word which I have spoken shall be done, saith the Lord power.
And that's what the Lord doing. The Lord's taking away food stamps, making all the people that were living off food stamps. He's bringing regulations. You got to work, or we not even gonna give you money. Now you got to get canned goods, and you got to be drug tested, man. The Lord's starting to take all of the comfort away from our nation, man, because the whole world is in shambles. Your nation is destroyed, and Jake got a smile on his face, man.
Give him that mystery meat.
Yeah, you gonna get government cheese and mystery meat, man. But while all of this is going on, Israel is revolting more and more, man. As if they are not being plagued with trials and tribulations. The Lord keeps putting curses and putting affliction on our people, and they still smiling, man.
I'll say this too hard. That's heavy that you said that, because when you look at it now, the Most High, like for instance, when the Great Depression hit America, Jake ain't really feel it. Why? Because it's a recession in our neighborhoods every day. Right. You know what I'm saying? So now that Esau, now when you look at these Edomites, these low-level peon Edomites, they're the #1 drug users in America, man. And they're the #1 recipients in government aid. So yeah, this is affecting Jake. But when you really look at it, the curses are starting to fall upon Esau now, because that government aid is fucking them up now too. That strip, that's fucking them up. But because Jake always had that attitude and that how to be comfortable in diverse situations. It's not really gonna affect Jake as it's gonna affect Esau, man. And that's why these race wars is gonna get ready to kick off, man. Because when you start taking away guns, the scripture says that Esau is to live by the sword, man. When these Amalekites start taking that sword away from these Edomites, man, which is their bread and butter, which is what they live for, that's when them uprisings are really gonna start to happen in this place, man. And it's a beautiful thing that you said that, man.
It is, I was just gonna say, it's more than Edomites on stamps now
than Jake. So, and they're the biggest drug users. So, who you think they gonna be passing them drug tests, man? I got a quick. Oh, you have something? Oh,
I got a quick one. This is Isaiah chapter 1, verse 5. Why should ye be stricken anymore? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint.
That's why the Lord got to keep a cluster, man. That's because the majority of the body of Israel as a body of people is destroyed, man. Disease, beyond rehabilitation, man. Save the elect. That's why the Lord got to remove. That's why He made us holy, man. He said, I have called my sanctified ones and my mighty ones. The mighty ones being the angels, and the sanctified ones being the hopeful elect. Because He's made you holy, which means separate from the rest of your nation, man. Because the rest of your nation is destroyed, man. That's why the Lord said in Isaiah 1 and 5, why should you be stricken anymore? Here it is, I done put you on the bottom, you're not mad, and then on top of that, I'm starting to bring out judgments against the nations that oppressed you, and you still having a good ass time, man. Right. Not even discerning the times, man.
Right. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 37. But as the days of Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
And that's the spirit of these people. Every incarnation, man. Eating and drinking and wickedness, man. And folly, man. Chiefly our people, man, who have no business following these heathens, man, because you don't profit from that, man. They put a few of our people on top, make them look like they making money, and then the whole nation is blinded by that, and they chase the same dream, man.
Same dream.
And they lost in the sauce, man. But now the Lord is at the point where it's like it's no use of me doing any more to you now. Now you got to go ahead and get chopped down, man. The wickedness you've grown, the seed of wickedness has grown into full fruit in you, man. To why a nation glorifies destroying each other, man. The music in our nation is all surrounded about destroying each other and flossing and flaunting your wealth amongst your own nation, man.
I got you, bro.
Anything wicked.
Anything wicked is a go. Everything righteous is a no-go, man.
Right.
Because Jake is about that with his own people, but he's not about that with these nations, man. Right. And history play, and they'll tell you, they take you to school as a young child and tell you how much they disrespected you.
Right.
And then you graduate and you go out here and play the role, man. Well, the Lord says that he's going to judge these nations for what they've done to us, man. And that faith scares these nations, man, but it don't scare 2/3 of our own people, man. That's a shame.
I appreciate. Can I say this before I say that? That's a beautiful point. Once again, it's like, you know, I don't advocate violence or nothing like that. You know, we gotta wait on YAHAWASHI to give us that spirit. But you know, I see videos all the time where Jake will blow another Jake's brains out overstepping on some sneakers, right? But then on the other hand, you got one Edomite cop will run into the projects and beat the shit out of a Jake in front of the whole projects.
Right.
So it's like 1 minute you about killing, you about that thug life, but when you see the Edomite cop, that's when y'all want to take out phones and be peaceful and talk about fighting it in court. If that's not Stockholm Syndrome, then what is? One cop. I mean, you know, I'm not sitting here saying, you know, because ultimately it's the spirit of the Lord, but it's like, damn, you feel me? This is Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait. As he that setteth snares, they set a trap, they catch men. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore they become great and waxen rich. They are waxen fat, they shine. Yet they overpass the deeds of the wicked, which is these Edomites. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper. And the right of the needy they do not judge.
And that show you Jake in the churches, man. Because Jake in the churches and Jake out here in the world that's successful, they profit off your destruction, man. They profit off your downfall. They profit off you being asleep, man. Because they'd rather shine over you than have you shine with them, man. And that's the spirit of Jake in the world, man. You broke.
Right.
I have sex with your woman. And then the pastors in the church rocking our people to sleep, man. Telling them everything gonna be good while they gather up the money from them. Tell them everything is all peaches and cream, but I need this private jet though.
Rolls Royce.
And I need the Rolls Royce. Hey, they got more protects than Jake in the rap game, man.
I don't know how many December 28th, you know, growing up and being in that Christian church, man. Every fucking December I heard next year was gonna be my year. I was gonna be rich. I'm supposed to be rich like 20 times already.
And that's the spirit of Esau too, because what they do is they say that you'll prosper, and then anybody in the church, by any chance of coming up, they say, all right, get that testimony, brother.
Every fucking
you go in front of the church and he say, look, I don't want a car.
Next
now the whole congregation believe that, look, man, we can just, hey, if we pay some money, we get a new whip or a new job. That's the spirit of Esau, man. That's our people trusting in the spirit of Egypt, man. All over again. That's why our people proud, man. That's why they walk around with the same smile that Esau got on his face.
Right, the scripture say pride goes before destruction, right?
And that's cold, man. You pass the deeds of the wicked, man.
I got a pre-op. This is Romans chapter 6, verse 23. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Yahawah is eternal life through YAHAWASHI HaMashiach, our Lord. And I really brought that out because it's like Esau knew what he was doing, man. These nations knew, pursuing the Psalms 83, to hide us, man. And they know that if they get us to go off and keep sinning, the penalty for that is death. But if we start following these laws as a nation, as one, as a chud, what happens? It starts to bring life, man. That's how they're keeping us dead. They're keeping us dead by having us sinning against our Heavenly Father, our power, man. And it's obvious. You know, like in slavery, they forced our people to eat pork, to eat shrimp, crab, and lobster. These are things they weren't doing prior to, you know, they kept the dietary law for the most part. You know? Now our people look at a roach as a delicacy. You know? When we come from a line of kings, man.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen.
This is 2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 15. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. And that's our people, man. The Lord, because our people feel that there's no profit of serving the Lord, man. And even in ancient times, they felt like it was no profit. That's why they would have one foot in and one foot out, man. They'll be praising the Lord in the temple in the daytime, and in the nighttime they got their own little gods and altars that they in the groves and eating all abominations and shit, man. Our people always been trying to have that heathen spirit, man. Because the heathens are winning now, man. The Lord had given us a kingdom that was for it to come, man. But we had to be refined, so to speak.
This is Job chapter 2, verse 9. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse Yahawah and die. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of those foolish women speaketh.
And that's the spirit that was in those wicked men, man. They had the same spirit. If you're going to maintain your integrity, we don't, since we left the covenant with the heathens, it says that we've been wanting, so to speak.
Right, that foolish woman represents these foolish philosophies, man.
And the virgins too, man. The foolish virgins, man. Because they didn't have it right now. They wanted it right now. They didn't want to have to wait on the prince, to wait on the marriage.
But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of those foolish women speaketh. Right, and we know that these scriptures, man, you know, through the spirit of power, YAHAWASHI is known as a righteous woman on the right hand side. So these vain philosophies on the left hand side is known as foolish women as well, man. But what shall we, Salakia? But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of those foolish women speaketh. What shall we receive the good at the hand of Yahawah? Shall we not receive evil? And in all this, in all this did not Job sin with his lips, man. So as a nation of Yashar Allah, man, we gotta have that same integrity and that same spirit that Job had, man. And to those philosophies, you know, Christianity and its prosperity doctrine, man, that shit sounds sweet, man. That shit sounds sweet, like Job's wife's voice in his ear, man. But Job cut that shit, man. So we gotta cut those demonic spirits like Job cut his wife, man, and tell those Christianity, Buddhist, Islam, man, that try to preach this prosperity, you know, fuck that shit, man. I'm staying faithful and true to Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashai at the end of the day, man. You know?
But that's the spirit of the Lord, man, because the spirit was only going to be placed on the elect, man. And that was from that was prophesied from old, man. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 9 and 21. And I saw and spared it greatly. No, I'll start at 20. So I considered the world, and behold, there was peril because of the devices that would come into it. And I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster, and a plant of a great people. Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain. Let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect.
This is Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the prophets of Israel that prophesy, and say unto them that prophesy out of their own hearts. Hear ye the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord thy power, woe unto the foolish prophets that follow their own spirit and have seen nothing. O Israel, thy prophets are like foxes in the desert.
And that goes into Martin Luther King as well, man.
Oh, I got you.
Preaching that integration doctrine, and what did it get you? It got you beat and slaughtered on camera. You know, it got you placed in these institutions that purposely put you on the bottom, that get you drunk with the wine and look at your nakedness, man. You take a child from elementary all the way to high school and tell him he wasn't nothing but a slave, and then release him into the world. What do you expect? You got it?
They don't know no more. They tell them they monkeys now.
Or they tell them that they volunteered to come over here.
Yeah,
or immigrants.
They monkeys that came as immigrants.
Servants, right?
Yeah, we wasn't slaves, we were immigrants. Like, but that's them trying to cover up the shame, because now the Lord is starting to reveal Esau's nakedness, man.
Right, I see. This is Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 25. I have heard what the prophet said, that prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have a dream. I have dreamed. Verse 26. How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yes, yeah, they are prophets, but of deceit of their own heart.
Yeah, because Martin Luther King preached that together doctrine, and that's a so-called Edomite precept. Every time you bring up the wickedness, they try to bring up Martin Luther King like that's a get out of jail free card. But the Lord is bringing the spirit of rising up the spirit of Jake, man. Even 2/3 of Jake is starting to rise up in rebellion, man. Just not according to knowledge, but they starting to rise up and have that zeal of being against their oppressors, man. And that's the spirit of the Lord, because if it wasn't for the spirit of the Lord, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans would just be love being on the bottom. They'll just continue being on the bottom and enjoy it, man. That's the spirit of the Lord was placed upon them to rise up out of this condition, man. Because 2/3 are gonna get dirty out here too, man. Jake, the elect, the hopeful elect, are gonna be turned. The fishes are gonna be turned into hunters. But 2/3 of Jake, before they receive their judgment, they're gonna start rebelling too, man. You can see that in the spirit starting to be roused up in them.
This is Isaiah chapter 14, starting at verse 10. All they that speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee.
And that's talking. That goes into Esau, man. And what you're seeing in the UN councils and all of these security councils is them speaking, telling Esau to bring down your pomp, man. Your pomp is brought down, man. We're not afraid of you no more. And Esau's making moves, and he's getting sloppy, man. That's why the Lord said in Jeremiah 49, I have uncovered his parts, I have made him bare. The U.S. is doing strikes without even having validated information, man. They made an accusation, and before they can even verify it, they went over there and struck and did some airstrikes, man. Them and their allies, man. That goes into NATO and the whore that sitteth upon the dragon, man. Right. The beast.
And that so-called gas, which shows the hypocrisy of Esau, is because this so-called chemical attack took place a year ago. But today we getting bombarded with chemtrails. The water in Flint is still fucked up. So you jumping in other people's countries talking about chemical attacks, but what about the chemtrails here in America? The water, the fluoride in the water, What about the chemical attacks that you putting on American citizens every day?
The world is a fucked up
You see what I'm saying?
And we cannot do anything
Esau,
about
you're
it.
just a fucking hypocrite, man, and that's all it is.
And it's gonna
But
happen
you know what?
anyway.
That showed the hypocrisy too, man,
Right.
because Esau, the U.S. will go around the world and talk about human rights violations. What
Right.
about your human rights violations? What about the dirt you did?
Right.
You talking about Assad and all of the things, the terrible things Assad did. What did you do? How did you become a nation? You destroyed. You did human rights violations.
Right.
And now you in the UN talking about we got to attack Assad for what he's doing to his people. What are you doing to the citizens in America, man?
Right. That's
You a
why.
hypocrite, man.
That's why what's going on in South Africa right now is beautiful, man. With this Julius Malema cat, man. Man, them what's that? That's the Canaanites.
South Africans.
Them Canaanites, man. They riling up, man.
But that show you when Judah in the spirit of Israel start rising up, nations start rising up.
Can I flip
Yeah, wait. You know a lot of them, people over there, they was bringing slaves from West Africa.
Right, I believe, I speak this as a man, I believe a lot of them South Africans is really Jake, man.
A lot of them is Israelites, because they was taking them from West Africa,
the Lemba tribe, and
bringing them down to South Africa.
Right. This is Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? And how Esau is getting cut down is because the veil is being lifted up on his deceits. You know what I'm saying? It tells you that in Obadiah 6, man. How are the things of Esau searched out?
And that's what Esau did. It's like we got
Esau's power is his secrecy, man. His power is his secrecy. But 30 years ago, the word Illuminati was unheard of. Now the average Joe Schmo is talking about Illuminati, Rothschilds, Gettys, and DuPonts. You know, and the Bilderberg conventions and all these things that are going on, man. You're slowly falling. Verse 13, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahawah. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see these, my favorite scripture, shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man? Salakia, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners?
And that show you that that's Esau, man.
Right.
Open out the house of his prisons. He got the biggest prison population, man. Did us weaken the nations, all of the, but see, Esau didn't count on YAHAWASHI uncovering his nakedness and taking the spirit of confidence from him, man. Esau had a whole plan, locked, sealed, and barreled, man, but he didn't count on being discovered, man, being made naked. And the Lord put a perverse spirit out here. That's why Esau's moves is getting sloppy, man.
Right.
Every false flag is being uncovered like that. It get to a point where Esau got to do like 3 or 4 false flags just to make a move now. But the Lord put that's what you got to do.
And then he got to change his doctrine every few years.
But that's why the Lord said that he was gonna make Esau bare, man. Esau's being made bare, and Satan is divided against Satan, man. Because Russia's talking all of this cash, but Russia's wicked too, man.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
Satan is divided against himself, man. So that kingdom's not gonna stand. Because now that America's being shown for what it is, man, which is a wicked place, Esau thinks that he can just divert all the wickedness to the U.S. No, all of y'all wicked, man. Y'all all made a confederacy against YAHAWASHI, man.
This is Job chapter 20, verse 4. Knowing thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumph of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment.
And this is that moment, and that moment is coming to an end, man. This is the last call for alcohol for the so-called white man's establishment, man. He's created a power structure that's about to fall now, man. And you can see the sheer confidence in so-called white people are finished, man. They're losing their whole spirit, their whole guile of being on top.
That phase is over with.
Yeah,
That's
why they're into the MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, because they're losing their spirit, man. The Lord said He was gonna root out the confidence in their tabernacle, man, and it was gonna lead them to the King of Terrors, man. So they've lived deliciously off the backs of Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. They talk proudly concerning the oppression that they committed against Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but the Spirit of the Lord is dropping the gavel on you, man. The Spirit of the Lord is coming at you, and He's waited for generations till you got nice and comfortable. Real comfortable, real fat and sloppy, man. Overweight from all the fast food your own nation puts in in these streets, man.
Hey, my brothers.
It tells you in Obadiah that the Most High said He made them small among the heathen. And that's spiritual, because when you understand this book, this book is about the power struggle between Jacob and Esau, righteous and unrighteousness, right? So when you really understand that aspect of these scriptures, you start to realize that these other nations are just extra faces in the crowd, man. You know, I like to call them women, because what do women do? They follow whoever's in power, whoever's currently in rulership of the planet Earth. And Esau's kingdom is falling so bad that these heathen nations that were once in league with him are looking at him narrowly, man. It's so bad that Edomites are looking at other Edomites narrowly, man. You know, you got some Edomites that say, oh, well, I'm browner. You know what I'm saying? I'm a browner shade of Edomite, you know? You know, Satan is divided against himself, man. His kingdom is it says what? If Satan, his kingdom shall not stand but have an end. You know?
This is Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And that's all of the Western allies, all of the allies of America are going to turn on her, man. And it's Satan divided against Satan. And it's starting with them recognizing that the U.S. does not formally respect the international law, man. For you to do an airstrike on a country without even having verified information or a UN Council mandate, which is permission to do it, it shows you don't respect the other nations and their word and their opinion. That's gonna rise up the tension between all of these allies, man.
Right. That's why when Trump tried to go to England, they told him to get the fuck out of here. We don't want you here, man. Them nukes are gonna come from North Korea, they're gonna come from Russia, but they're gonna come from US's allies as well. Because like I said, US only got its allies through fear when they bombed Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These motherfuckers were like, yo, we ain't fucking with these motherfuckers. Yeah, they got the atomic bomb. Let's just join them. But guess what? The scripture says, let the weak say I am strong. These little smaller nations, you talking about North Korea, they known for rice. These motherfuckers got nukes now. No, that nuclear power that you had, America, is over with, man. Everybody got them now. Now that everybody got nukes, nobody got nukes. You know what I'm saying?
This is, go ahead.
This is Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 11. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage.
Yeah, because you destroyed the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and you happy about it. You go in on Fox News and you talk shit about Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans as if you had nothing to do with the condition that they in. Like they just made a decision to be destroyed and be enslaved. You got it.
Jeremiah 50 and 11. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and below as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed.
Because what did America come out of, man? It came out of the UK, man. They're off branch of the England, the UK, the Britain area. So that they're ashamed of you, man. man. And eventually it's gonna end up in violence, man.
Right,
You think Russia's your biggest issue? Your allies are your biggest issue too. And Russia said that. Russia said that your allies are not your real friends. They just don't have another option. They're not in a position to disagree. And that's what the representatives of Russia are saying, that the nations that are behind you, they're not behind you because you're right. They're behind you because they're not in a position to disagree with you, man.
That's heavy, because that's talking about all the Edomites too. Why? Because when you go back to Rebecca, she despised Esau herself, man.
In Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 12. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bear you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert.
Yeah, and that goes into America being made a desolation, man. This place is gonna be a desert, man. This is gonna be a memorial of what happens when you have wickedness. What happens when you have evolution, Darwinism, atheism, and all the other manner of folly, man. LGBTQP, whatever y'all want to call it.
That's the spirit. There you go, right there.
Man,
that's the spirit, man. But the Lord is gonna judge. The Lord is gonna judge according to the wickedness that's being done here, man.
Spirit for real.
Yeah, the Lord is gonna judge according to the wickedness that's being done out here, man. Yeah, that's it. That's his thing, man. He try to hang back and play it off.
Yo, read that scripture again. Read that Jeremiah you just read, man. 12. That's heavy too, because that one more time.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 12. Your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bear you shall be ashamed.
Right.
Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, and a dry land, and a desert.
Right. Which was one you just read about? It should be a desolation.
That's a revelation.
That's a revelation, right? But when you read the scriptures, right, you know that in Genesis chapter 27, what did Rebecca do, man? She took Esau, she took Jacob, and they supplanted Esau and stole that birthright, right? Rebecca was so confounded as well, right? Now, when you go into the precept you just read in Revelation talks about desolation, we know that America's gonna be desolate too, but as a nation, you Edomites are gonna be desolate, man. Going back to your mother, Rebecca, who was so confounded in your birth. You get what I'm saying? According to Obadiah 18.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 13. Because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues.
Jump to 31.
Verse 31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord power.
Same chapter you was in, Jeremiah 49. Go to 49, Slakia, and 31.
All right. Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 31. Arise, get ye up unto the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith the Lord Yahawah, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwell alone. Verse 32. And their camels shall be a booty, and the multitude of their cattle a spoil. And I will scatter into all winds them that are in the utmost corners, and I will bring their calamity from all sides.
And that's what the Lord is doing. This is the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, man. And the Lord is bringing calamity from all angles, man. From the inside and the outside, man. Because these 2/3 of the nation, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that y'all kept docile for years, they're starting to wake up. Some of them according to righteousness and some of them according to unrighteousness, man. But they're all fulfilling the same purpose, man.
This is Job chapter 20, verse 15. He hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asp. The viper's tongue shall slay him.
Yeah, so America and really all of the Edomites, man, they got fat and delicious off of the work and the affliction of you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. And you know what's gonna happen? What's Ezekiel 38? Yeah, because what's gonna happen is God and Magog is gonna come up against America, And eventually they all gonna destroy themselves, man. And that's the same thing that was spoken of in 2nd Esdras. Where all of these multitudes were fighting, and in the midst of the fighting, the Lord came, man. The Lord talked about World War III, which is on the cusp right now, man. And it's in the back of all these people's mind, but they come out here to forget about it. But it's all in the back of their mind. They know destruction is on the way, man.
This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him.
Because Esau is right now, he's in the land of Japheth, man. That's why you hear these names and they unfamiliar. All of these were territories of Japheth, man. But just like Esau, just like the Edomites do everywhere, man, they go to a land, they take it over, and then they call themselves by the name of the people, and they hide themselves. But the Lord is referring to these lands in their natural form, in their original form. Gog and Magog represents Russia, man. You got it.
It's verse 3. And say, Thus saith the Lord thy power, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal.
So the Lord is making it clear that he's against Russia as well, man. But Russia has a purpose to play, man. Russia has a role to play in this as well, man. You got it.
And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords.
Yeah, because Russia's being put back into that Cold War spirit, man. The Lord said I was going to put hooks in your jaws and return you back, man. Because Russia has to fulfill a purpose, man, and that purpose is to destroy this place. You got it? Did it mention Gomer?
Yeah, it's going to go down.
Oh, sorry.
Verse 5, Persia, Ethiopia,
and where Persia is Iran today, man.
Iran, yep.
Because before it was called Iran, it was called Persia, man. So the Iranians and Russians are all in league together right now, along with Moab, the Chinese. But all of this is a confederacy against the whore, man.
We did have
the whore that sitteth upon many waters, man. This is the Lord's chess.